lot more like July. Tonight she's just over. Lie after lie after lie. She puts on my Tom Petty t-shirt. She lets a tear fall over her heart. She says something about a missing bandana and a world torn apart. I don't think there's tools in my toolbox to fix this shattered work of art. And she can have my Tom Petty t-shirt with tear stains on her heart.
At this point in your careers, brothers, you guys still getting along, enjoying the creative process together, and simply literally being very close in proximity to each other every night during these tours.
Yeah, we're on a tour bus. There's 9 of us squeezed in the bunks, and it's it's kind of a thing where you wake up in a new town and you get yourself together, then you do sound check and you do dinner and the show, and then jump on the bus and drive to the next place. So it's
Bit of a whirlwind.
pretty intense. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's kind of a whirlwind, but the music is going really well. We've been, the venues have been great, the crowds have been great. So I think we're really enjoying it.
Well, whenever you kick things off, I saw the Fallon video with Tom Petty T-shirt with the single. You're really setting a tone to say, "Hey, we're here and we're we're going to blow the doors off of the venues and get everybody excited about this." I guess a question that rings true to me, Michael, Kevin, both of you, whoever this comes to, whenever you're hitting these towns. At this point now, with this being your 8th album, are you now seeing a lot of the same faces as you're pushing over, the amount of time that you guys have been on the road together and actually out working these dates from each album that comes out?
I think it's always easier, at least a little bit easier, going back to a place that you've played before, because hopefully there's a few people there that have either seen the show or heard some of the music or have said to their friends, you know what, these guys came through a while ago, and it was a fun show, so why don't you come down with me? And, so I think that it definitely helps. And there's certain kind of pockets of the world where we do pretty well. I mean, people we'll even see people singing along, which is something that you really kind of relish as a songwriter or a performer, to see somebody that knows the songs. And since we're not a band with a lot of hits, it's something that you really want from, it helps a lot when the audience knows at least a little piece of the music.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sturgill Simpson as an artist. He pared down and didn't bring his horn section out this last go around the last year. Would there ever be, you guys have had the same band, I believe, the whole time? You guys have been together. Would there ever be a paring down where, and I'm sure you guys have done some just duets or shows like that, but I guess as far as the business and travel concerns go, would you guys pare down the band and maybe play some smaller sets or smaller shows?
We have, we've done it, and we can for sure. I think that our preference is always to, put those amazing players out there,
Sure.
behind us, because a lot of the songs, and kind of, similar to Sturgill in that way. If you can get really used to having, for instance, a horn section.
it's a nice party.
Certainly, yeah, it's nice. We have a great guy who swings on keys and saxophone and accordion. But if we could have a horn section, I think we would have it. I think that, on the other hand, sometimes it is nice, and sometimes they're sort of like one-offs or TV opportunities to strip the songs down and just hear the way that they were first kind of delivered, which is basically just a couple of acoustic guitars. But it's a lot of fun to be able to to have a big band.
Oh, absolutely. More interesting on the road too, I'm sure. Michael, I had a few questions about you. So you obviously you teach, and I believe you all recorded the album in the college that you teach at. But you also do scoring, and obviously have a very accomplished resume in the TV world. With the rise of documentaries, like you think about that, I'm 34 years old. I want to say when I was in elementary school, if a teacher said we had to watch a documentary, we'd want to jump off a cliff. Now it's big business. You see it all over Netflix. You see HBO killing it. Interesting subjects. ESPN's made a giant avenue off it too. And you've worked on a ton of different documentaries. Was that just a business decision, or are you a fan of the genre itself? How does one come about to getting to work on so many great projects like that?
Well, it really was not. It's more when after our son was born and we moved to New York and we're borderline starvation. I got finally this guy gave me a job and happened to be a documentary producer who I still work with, and this is over 30 years. And just when the phone rang and somebody was on the other end of the line, they seemed to be wanting me to score a documentary. I've done a bunch of feature films too. Kevin and I collaborated on 2 feature films that he directed. So it really wasn't a business choice at all. And I think that anybody who survives in the music business as long as I have, you constantly have to be reinventing yourself. For instance, I'm a professor of music at Lehman College in the Bronx, and I never expected to be doing that, and it's been fantastic. And that is it's a 4-year college in the Bronx, and they have this absolutely gorgeous recording studio and video studio. And every week or so, it seems like another one of the big rooms in New York falls away just because, if you have a big recording studio, the real estate is just too expensive.
Yep.
And Lehman College still has the studio. And we recorded half the record there about a year ago and shot some video. And we ended up with 5 songs, and that's not a CD. And so we kind of just tried to figure out what we're going to do, and we played a gig with G.E. Smith, who's a very famous guitar player, particularly from Saturday Night Live. And we did a gig with him, and he loved the song that Kevin wrote, and he said, "Can I produce it?" And we said, "Sure." And we booked the studio, and by now, Kevin has really sort of went into this writing bloom and cranked out 4 or 5 songs in a very short amount of time after quite a bit of time of not writing anything. So we went to the studio with GE, and we recorded 1 song, and then the next day we booked the studio, and he said, "Well, can I hang out too?" And we got 4 songs done, and then we did another one in the the pass the guitar kind of thing with all the guys working in their own home studios, and we ended up with 10 songs, which to me is the minimum you really can do. So, and all of a sudden it sort of the stars aligned, and we happened to have this tour happening literally exactly the same time as the CD was released. So. Somehow with this tour, I feel like we're kind of if timing is everything, I think we got the timing right this time.
Also, with GE, great, and obviously you want the skills applied to your album and into the creative process. But can we agree it would have been a better story if you said, "Nah, we're good. Sorry, buddy."
Well, it's interesting because it's as Michael pointed out, we haven't often worked with outside producers,
right?
And it can get kind of comfortable to sort of stay in your own sphere, and there's always that concern that maybe it's unfounded or maybe it's just a function of nobody really being interested in producing us, but there's that concern that you're going to get in there and someone's going to tell you, I don't know, look what they've done to my song, Ma, and
right.
and so that had its challenges, but I think it was a really good, I don't know even if I call it really a good exercise. It was more, I think, I'm just really happy with what he brought and with what we got out of the session.
Yeah, and that's important too, that you're comfortable enough to call it an exercise, and then in reality, it's like, well, you made an album and it's together and everything. That was the whole final product too. So, Micheal, as a musician and somebody that's very focused like you, I always say this. I have a friend who makes probably what a teacher makes, playing wineries, bars, but he hustles and he works hard, and he's been at it for 10 years. Maybe doesn't have the idea of blowing up to be huge, but either way, that to me, I always say that is what a musician is. You get young people, and it's great that you want to shoot for the stars. But would you agree that it sounds like that's your story as well? You have to grind it out, and becoming a musician means about 50 or a million different things. I guess for somebody getting started, what would you tell them as far as process goes? How to actually be a paid musician?
Oh, that's such a great question, and you may have to shut me up because I'm all of a sudden I'm channeling my college professor.
Bring it.
A couple of things I'll say about that. What's your buddy's name?
Casey Reeves.
Okay, so if Casey has a backup, like he went to dental school, he's going to take it. So one of the really great things about me is I never was able to do anything else. And when I got married and I had a kid and I had nothing, I had to make it work. And I had to make it work within music because that's really the only skills I had. The other thing that I would say to Casey is, and I tell my students this all the time, what is it about you that's different than everybody else? And try to find out what that is, identify it, and then try to get so incredibly good at being that thing that the world can't ignore you. So, in the band, for me, I'm always trying to kind of find what I can contribute that other people can't do. So in this tour, we broke out this crazy little, what we call an interlude. I play cello in the band sometime in a couple of songs. And so I wrote this interlude, and it's written in the style that I compose. And when I'm doing my best work, I don't even know what the chords are. They're 4 independently moving lines that only exist in relationship to each other. And you will not hear any piece of music like that in any band anywhere because people just don't write like that, and I do. So that's kind of an example. And so I hope, that's my advice, and I think it's sort of been time-tested because I've seen a bunch of my students go out into the world and do really well. And I'll shut up after this. I'll give you an example. I had a student, film scoring student, and he was a keyboard player. And he said, I asked him what happened, what his career's like. He said, well, I was a contrabass major at Juilliard, graduated as a performance in contrabass. And I said, well, why don't you use that in your film scoring? Nobody plays the contrabass at that level. But he didn't want to do it. He couldn't see that that's what made him completely unique. And he's a keyboard player. He's doing weddings and stuff like that. And he's a great composer. And I think if he had followed my advice, he probably would have, gotten more traction with the business than he is right now.
Kevin, a couple of quick ones for you. At this point in your life, do you find your focus more on music than acting? And also, what's the favorite line of yours that you've ever delivered in a movie?
When you say at this point in my life, do you mean today?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. No, I'm definitely still focused on acting as well. I mean, I'm doing a movie when we finish. I'm doing a series, and like any career, I get up every day and try to figure out how to keep it going. Reading stuff, thinking of ideas, looking for things to option, talking about. It's like I often say that people have this kind of concept that when you are in between jobs as an actor, and probably as a musician too, that you're kind of on vacation. So in other words, you work and then you go on vacation, and you work and you go on vacation, which in my experience is not even close to the truth. You're just constantly either in pursuit of work or trying to promote something or develop something or find the next thing. And so, in the short term, we're here and we just did a Facebook Live thing, and then we'll be thinking about the gig once we get to St. Louis. And then in terms of my favorite line in the movie, I don't know. I mean, I don't. It's not something that I wake up and think about all that often. In fact, I'll be honest with you. Since I really don't go back and look at them, sometimes people will come up to me and quote me back a line, and it'll be such a non sequitur that I'll have no idea what they're talking about.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. Recently, somebody came up to me and went, "You're a lousy basketball player, Jack." And I had no idea what the guy was in an airport. Right. I had no idea what the guy was. I thought he was a lunatic. And it turns out that it was a line from a. I think that's. I don't even know if that's a line, honestly, but it was something like that. A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't even think it was my line. I think maybe it was Tom's line.
It was Tom's line, I believe. Yeah. Now that you say that.
Okay, so it's Tom's line.
Especially whenever you have a coffee in hand and you're reading a book and somebody just comes up and shouts that at you.
So I'm just going to say that your favorite line was Tom Cruise's line. Then, so I'll go with that story.
My favorite line in the movie wasn't even mine.
Well, that makes sense. Micheal, Kevin Bacon, the Bacon Brothers at Delmar Hall tonight in St. Louis. We're really excited to have you in. It's disgustingly hot here, so you guys will get that good rock star sweat going. But
we got no problem with the heat. Bring the heat. We like it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate you jumping on St. Louis Live, and I'm sure St. Louis will rep you guys hard and come out and cheer you on.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thanks for your help with the show. We really appreciate it.
She puts on my Tom Petty t-shirt